Yeah. Yo, everybody's always asking me where I'm from, right? Man, where you from, man? Yo, you know I'm coming out of Dallas, but I'm from the RGV. You know what I'm saying? South Texas. Feel me? All the way down by Mexico. Y'all got to look on the map. Check it out. Home for me ain't LA or the D. Further down south, it's the RGV. Might miss it on the map cause it's hardly seen. Might have heard it in my raps cause it's part of me. Tip of Texas. Come off the
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Okay, good. How you doing, man?
Shit, how are you doing, man?
I'm awesome, man. I'm beautiful. I'm great.
Shit, so I've known you as Preemo, but I see you switched it up. So what are you going by now? Tell the viewers what you're going by now.
So you know, I mean, honestly, to pretty much family and to people that know me, I mean, I'm always gonna be Pre. You know, I'm always gonna be Preemo. But yeah, I go by Manuel Beltran, which is my middle name and my last name. So it got to be like, especially when I started producing and making beats, and they were like, "Oh, Preemo like made this beat," you know. Everybody was like DJ Premier, you know, like, oh wait, you know. And then really is like when DJ Premier really started. I don't know if he moved to Houston or he just started being in Houston a lot, and then come to find out he's originally from Houston, and we all thought he was from New York. And so it just became like, you know what? Let me save this confusion. And, you know, and then also too, you know, in 2013, you know, I got into some stuff, man, and I got shot in the stomach, almost died. And like, really it was kind of symbolic because like a part of me died, like the bad part of me that needed to die, it died that night on that corner. So, you know, that was part of it as well. It was like a new start, you know, a fresh start.
Is that why you had a project called The Magic Bullet?
Actually, no.
No?
It's actually in reverse. I think the reason why I made the project called The Magic Bullet might be one of the reasons why I got shot. But I made The Magic Bullet before I got shot. And it didn't have like, it was to be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you like where, like when or where I decided like, yeah, I'm gonna put this tape out and call it The Magic Bullet. I think somebody might have said it or somewhere or something. And I remember that movie JFK, and they're talking about, you know, the magic bullet and how this guy like hit like all these targets with one bullet, you know. And it was like, this is what this project is. This is like a magic bullet project where I'm gonna like hit all these check marks with one project. I was gonna do all this stuff. And then it so happened that, you know, maybe 2 years after, I guess, 2-3 years after I made that project, I ended up getting shot. So like words are powerful, you know. When we make songs and we talk about like whatever it is, like I don't think a lot of people realize that like if you're the kind of artist that puts their all into his music, his or her music, you know, like basically when you're recording it, you believe that shit, you feel that shit in your heart. Then whatever that thing is that you recorded, you get all these other people around you saying it, singing it, and feeling it, then like you're gonna manifest that, whatever that is. When
you got shot, was it wrong place at the wrong time? Or was it like somebody was gunning for you because of some shit that you said on the record?
No. It was wrong place, wrong time. It didn't have nothing to do with it. But the way it all ended up happening in retrospect now, it's like right place, right time, because my life completely changed after getting shot, and it changed for the better. And so it put me on a whole new trajectory. So it's like, it's not something that I sit around and like, oh man, I can't believe that happened and da-da-da-da-da. I'm glad it happened. And honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I would go through it, you know, because it's what was on the other side that, you know, ended up being like the biggest blessing. So, you know.
I wanted to ask you too. So I don't know, did you see the video that I sent you where we were talking about
man.
man?
You know, it's funny, man.
Yeah. Were you laughing? Like, what the fuck?
I laughed so hard, but I laughed in a way like of pure joy, man. Like, I watched it in traffic. And I couldn't help but to laugh out of pure joy. And the reason why I say that is because like, I think like, honestly, I think even back then, 20 years ago, making 2 Days Under the Sun, like, I think even then I understood that nobody was going to really get this for like 20 years. That like, this was something that was like, a couple of people have said that to me, like, your fans haven't been born yet. You know what I mean? A couple people have mentioned that over the course of 25, actually like 25, 30 years, like the shit that you do is real unique and different. It's dope, but it's like outside of what the like normal shit is, you know? And so, yeah, man, like I came to terms with that. I think after being shot, that was one of the things being shot helped me to realize is like, as artists, it's not our responsibility, I think, all the time to like be responsible for the success of the work in our lifetimes. Sometimes you just make art just for the fucking world, man. And it's like, you look at like some painters, right? And it's like Van Gogh didn't become Van Gogh until 200 years after he died. Like, if you really make art to make art, then it shouldn't matter, right? Like, I don't care if people hear this tomorrow and are like, man, this is dope as fuck. Like, I love this. This makes me feel good. This inspires me. This made me cry. This made me laugh. I don't care if that happens now or in 200 years or in 2000 years. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's not on me. That's not up to me. And like, once you let that go of like, oh man, I gotta like this whole thing of like rappers like gotta get on and like, I gotta like, it's this hyper success scenario that we're all trying to like fight for. Man, that shit is killing us, bro. Like that's just more dangerous than fentanyl, man. Like,
yeah,
you know,
people are losing themselves trying to get clout and trying to get fame and trying to get the money and all that other stuff.
Absolutely, man. And then get it and realize like, wow, this wasn't it. Like, I thought this would like make me feel better. Like yeah, man, it's just, it's, you come to realize that like you be just as miserable, if not sometimes more. It's not a one size fit all thing. I think most artists don't understand that like there's levels. And within those levels, depending on who you are and how you move and like what you're comfortable with, you can find success at all those levels, you know?
Yeah. See, like, so you've seen the story. So my mom, she bought a CD off you, 2 Days Under the Sun. And it had a different cover, right?
Yeah.
It had a different cover. Cause I remember it had a different cover. Yeah. And there was some different tracks on there that weren't on the second one.
So 2 Days Under the Sun was my first attempt at being in charge and doing a whole project front to back, just me. Because up until that point, like I had been like in a group before. I like, you know, worked with other people. You know what I mean? And so the most I had done was like 4 or 5 song demos, right? Maybe 6 song demo, but I had never really like made an album, right? Like the way I wanted, right? And so I was in a label situation. I was signed with Amanda Perez to this really like kind of shady situation out in LA. Yeah. And it was like, I was at the end of that because it was just too much, right? And so I'm staying with my homeboy who's an engineer. And I'm like sleeping on his couch, you know, because I'm coming from Texas. I'm coming from Dallas at the time. So I'm out there, you know, when I got to go to LA, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, either they're booking a hotel for me, I'm crashing on his couch. So I get out of that situation and get into like another situation with a producer, and I sign like a production deal. And it's in the middle of like all this is going on, right? I'm still trying to find like a company in LA to sign me or whatever, right? To get some music out. and it's Christmas of 2002. Yeah, it's Christmas of 2002. It's me, the engineer, and a producer homeboy, and nobody was going home for Christmas, right? Three lonely ass, guys with, nobody to go home to Christmas to. So we were like, we should do, fuck it. We should give ourselves 2 days and see how many songs we can make in 2 days. And that's basically how 2 Days Under the Sun happened. So most of the songs on 2 Days Under the Sun, like the original one that you heard, were done in 2 days. We made the beat, we wrote, I wrote the song, and we recorded it right there on the spot. And we gave ourselves 2 days. And I remember we didn't have a lot of food. We were like drinking like hot chocolate and shit, because that's like all there was.
Sugar
in my
water.
homeboy's cabinet. Yeah, it was like water
water
and chocolate powder. And so what happened was that production deal that I was in that I talked about, we had done some records as well. They were just kind of sitting around. He wasn't doing anything with them. And maybe a couple weeks or a couple months later, I was like, let me take some of these songs and add them to the project. So what happened was in 2 days, we did, I think, 12 songs. But 2 Days Under the Sun has like 19, 20, 21 tracks on it. So the rest of those tracks came from the songs that were laying around with the deal that I did with Walter, and then 1 or 2 other like remixes or songs that I did with people while I was out in LA. And so basically I put it all together into one thing. And I was like, I'm going to take this back to Texas while all this business shit works out. And we figure out, what we're going to do. And I'll just go back and hit the flea markets. And I still to this day, you might catch me like at Traders Village, like ran on a random ass, like what the fuck? And I got CDs or like, that's one thing that I've always loved is like selling to the people like directly. I've set up a distribution network now for my vinyl. I have a new album. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I always prefer that to internet streams. So I'm not streaming anything right now. So that's, I pressed up, I want to say 1,500 or 2,000 copies, something like that. And started in, I actually started right there in Hollywood. That's where I was staying, on Hollywood Boulevard now, where you go out there now and there's 100 people trying to sell 100 different things. There's people dressed up as freaking Ninja Turtles and Captain America taking pictures. Like, this was before all of that. This was before any of that stuff was there. It was just the old Chinese theater. And I would be the only person out there. This was like early 2000s. And I started there, like just hand to hand. Like I had headphones. Yo, check this out. This is my album. Ooh, I was telling my story,
You had the
I'm
headphones?
out here from Texas, and that's how I was just grinding. And so I took that little bit of money. The homeboy that I was sleeping on his couch, he started me off with some bread. He was like, yo, take this, go back to Texas, see what you can make happen. And so I went straight to the Valley, and the flea market in Brownsville. There was a place where everybody used to cruise, I think in Harlingen. Like I would go through there, like just anywhere, and I probably spent like 5 or 6 months down there. Cause that's the thing about the Valley. Like if you have people down there, they make it hard to leave because everything's so chill down there, and everything is so like, I don't know, man. I've always had like, you heard the song. Like I've always had like a love for the RGV. It's always been like such a chill place just to like go and like kind of like reset and just because everything moves at a slow pace down there.
How did you end up though in LA being from the RGV, like being from Brownsville? Like how did that end up happening?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. So I was a 13-year-old runaway in Brownsville. And I basically started making my own tapes after I met a DJ in Matamoros at this club called Mr. Lee's. This was like 92, 93. I met a DJ through another DJ who worked at the radio station. I think is it B104? Anyways, the radio station in the Valley, the only one that would play like stuff, you know, like top 40 and like a little bit of hip hop, not that much. And so they would do shows, right? The radio station was always doing events. Well, that DJ that I met was like, hey, you can come perform at like all these events. You know, I open that door for you. So that's how I started in the Valley. I would do, what was it? Rio Fest and like, just like anything, any event that was happening in the Valley in like 93, 94, maybe 95, maybe even 96.
You was rocking.
I was rocking the mic. I was there, you know, I was selling my tapes, you know, and I was performing. And so there was a guy by the name of Mike Quinn who back then, I don't remember what he was doing, but he invited me once to his studio that was in like Mission or San Juan, or I forget which city in the Valley. But I just remember it was like on the second floor of this like used clothing store or something. And we went up in there and like none of the equipment worked. It was weird. It was like, like he couldn't get anything to work. And so I was like, man, I gotta go, man. Like I had my girl with me. She was pregnant. Like, it's just like, you know, call me whenever, you know, this shit, you know, gets fixed or whatever. Yeah. Fast forward like 6 or 7 years and I'm in Dallas. And my DJ now is telling me, hey, do you remember that guy way back in the days that had that studio where nothing worked? Like he's in LA now and he's been asking about you. And like, he says he's in this like label situation or this like radio situation. And he's like, he wants to sign you. And I was like, man, you mean the guy that couldn't get nothing to work? I was like, man, get out of here, man.
Right.
The guy was faulty, man. Like, nah, and I'm cool. And so this went on for like 6 months. My DJ was like, nah, bro, you should call him, bro. You should call him, you know? And I just like, you know, whatever. The other reason too, that I wasn't really concerned with it was I was going back and forth from Dallas to Atlanta. And I had a homeboy in Atlanta who got signed to MCA Records. And so I was like working with him because the plan was for him to turn his situation into a situation for me, because we had been rapping together for years already. And so I was more concerned with Atlanta and the opportunities that were going on over there. But eventually my DJ kept like, man, I'm telling you, bro, you should really call Mike, man. You should call that dude, man. Like he keeps bothering me, like he won't leave me alone. So finally, I call this guy. He flies out, gives me the rundown of what they're doing, and immediately they fax over paperwork. And I take one look at the paperwork and I don't even need to give it to a lawyer yet. I can already see that like it's not a fair deal, like at all. Like what, like the situation that they're proposing, right? But they're proposing it. I won't get into all the details because we'll be here all day. But like they were basically like they wanted to take a lot of one thing, but they were promising that they were going to make it up on this other thing, right? Yeah. And little did I know that they didn't give a fuck about that other thing. Like they were just going to act like that was never a part of the conversation and just focus on the part that they're getting a majority of the money on, right? And so, you know, it's funny because I had like just won the freestyle competition on 97.9 in Dallas, and I won it back to back so many days that they retired me from it. They was like, you can't battle no more people. Like you keep like killing everybody, right? I think it was like five nights in a row. I was killing shit. And I just remember I remember coming home. I remember looking at my daughter. She was like 5 years old at the time. I remember looking at you know, her mom at the time. And I was just like, fuck, like this might be my only opportunity, right? It's like one of those situations, you know, like I'm working a job that I can't stay, you know, I'm delivering, you know, I'm a delivery truck driver, right? I'm like, man, when reality sets in, that's how they get you, you know what I mean? Like that's as old as, you know, as time. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sign this. I said, but before I sign this, you got to give me a little better deal. Like you got to give me something, like, you know what I mean? Like, so they tweaked it a little bit. They gave me a little bit more. And so that's how that whole situation happened. And it ended up not being what I wanted. Like, you know, again, like my thing is like, I have these weird things, man. They're called principles. And it's like, I have a problem with people making money off of hip hop that don't even like hip hop. That bothers me. And when you find out how many people that there are that make a really good living off of the art that Black and brown people made, and they don't even like that shit, they go home and make fun of it. They go home and make fun of us. Like, they think we're clowns and buffoons and idiots, and like they don't feel no kind of way about putting us in bad deals and bad situations. And they know we come from nothing, you know. So it's just really bad energy. Like, if you're someone who is up on that kind of shit, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, the great people, the people that are the most successful and still able to maintain somewhat of their principles, are able to do this dance with people where they can deal with the worst of the worst people and it not like fuck with their energy. They're able to somehow like be like a shell, and like they're able to maneuver in a way. And I just wasn't able to do that at 20 years old. Basically, in a nutshell, these were guys that worked in radio promotions. They had a company that worked with all the major labels, right? Now, it's illegal for a major label to pay someone, to pay a radio station to play a song, right? So what happened was these companies sprang up where they were like, give us the money and we'll go to the radio station, and we won't directly give them the money, but we'll like buy like t-shirts or we'll like turn it into stuff to give away, right? Like giveaways and like, you know what I'm saying? Like merchandise shit to give out at shows, or like we'll throw concerts with this money and we'll bring the artists in, and we don't have to pay the artists. We'll pay the artists in spins. Like, we'll play the fuck out of their record, but we won't pay them no money to come perform. That went on for a long time. That was a big thing in the early 2000s. Like, everybody had to go through that, all the way from all the major Def Jam artists all the way down to the indie artists. Like, that's just what it was. So what they were doing was they had like watched these artists get rich off of publishing for decades. And like, cause that's what radio spins, that's how you get paid off of radio spins, is in publishing. So what they decided to do was they were going to like get an artist and set up this company that they were secretly co-owners of, right? And then use the label money for Nelly, for Ludacris, for whoever, use their promo money to pump our records on radio, which they own not only most of the label, but they own most of the publishing.
So they're like double, triple dipping.
So exactly.
Getting paid on each end.
Yeah, right. So they're using their, label money to fund their artists that they're making the lion's share of the money with. It was this scheme they had going on, and it all fell apart after 9/11. And it's funny because they signed me and I flew out to LA September 10th, 2001. Wow. Met everybody, shook their hands. Hey, how you doing? Okay, I'm going back to the room. Went back to the room, woke up the next morning, and the whole world was falling apart. And that was like a bad omen. I was like, yeah, this shit's not going to go right. Like, this is a bad sign. Like, because like, again, you have to remember, like, I was like really into, like, I learned and I read all the books because, man, I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. So yeah, by the time I'm 20 and somebody comes to sign me, I know what publishing is. I know what points are. I know what, you know, all of these things are. And so I went into the situation already with a bad taste in my mouth. Like, man, these guys are shady. Like, I see what they're doing. Like, they're going to get caught. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get like blacklisted or whatever. Like, you know, like it was a real like, and so like, it just came to a head, you know, it was over a show, the Valley, man, holding me down once again. So again, go back to this. They're having me go all over the country and do these free shows. Well, I have a wife and a daughter back in Dallas, right? And I still gotta make money, right? So I was like, look, y'all do whatever, but I'm gonna start booking my own fucking shows, right? Because I got people in the Valley that, you know, like we can do this shit ourselves, right? So that's what I did. I booked a show, and it was like, ended up being like $6 or $7 grand for like, you know, a 30-minute set, right? So I'm like, yeah, bet. Like, this is what I'm doing on these days. Don't book me for anything else. This is where I'm gonna be. This is where, you know. And they were like, okay, yeah, no, that's fine. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. And so when the day came, I get a phone call and they're like, hey, we need you to be in Little Rock on Saturday. I'm like, nope, like, can't do it. Like, I'm not doing another free show. Like, I'll do more, but I'm doing this one first so I can, you know, pay rent for a couple months and I can go back on the road. Like, and it was like, no, like, you either do this show in Little Rock for free or we can't fuck with you no more. I was like, bye. Like, and I never looked back.
Back. And were they ever are you still under contract or any kind of way? It was some short-term shit.
When I showed that contract to a lawyer right after the fallout, she couldn't even believe like that they had the audacity to even like try and like what they were doing was so illegal and so wrong, like ethically, morally, like the whole nine, that like she was like, let's sue him. Like, let's sue the fuck out of him. And I was like, A, I don't have the kind of bread to pay you to sue this motherfucker right now. And B, like, I just want to be done with this shit. I just want to be like, I just want to make sure that I can walk away from the situation and not go and do X, Y, Z. And then they're like, hey, you still owe us, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, nah, you're good. Like, you're good. Like, these guys they're lucky they didn't go to jail. Like, cause some of the shit they did was, you know,
a lot of fraudulent ass shit.
Yeah, and in the end, the labels didn't pay them. The labels found out what was going on, and they were already hemorrhaging money because of Napster and the internet and everything. So they were like, "Hey, how do we, you know, tighten the belt? How do we like cut corners?" And they were like, "Let's not pay this motherfucker because he's out here robbing us blind." So they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's do that." So they left him on the hook for millions. So in the end, he kind of got what was coming to him. But you know. Everything works out. Everything happens for a reason. I don't regret anything. Like, again, like, I know who I am and I know what I'm about. And I know that I don't enjoy working with people like that. I don't enjoy it. No matter what the opportunity is, if I have to be in business with people that, you know, like I can't stand to be in the same room with, it's like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, these are your business partners. You got to understand when you sign to a label, like this wasn't even technically a label, but they were label type people. They were radio people, you know? And so it's like, you got to understand when you sign with the label, those are your business partners. Those are your partners. Those are the people that make the decisions that impact your and your family's life. Like, those are the people that you've put your future in their hands. So, man, I hope you have a good relationship with them. Like, I hope that, and you see those situations work. Look at Kendrick. Look at who he came up with and the people in his camp. Like, who, you know, at TDE, it was like, those are the kind of situations that work, is when you have people down with you who are like, nah, you're not going to do the little homie like that. He didn't get this good to have you give him this slave ass deal. Like, this is what we're doing and this is how we're moving. And unfortunately, I never had a team like that. I never had a group to hold me down. It's always just been me by myself, you know? So it is what it is, you know? So
yeah.
the new shit, I did a vinyl only release. Let me show you. This is the reconstruction of Pre. You can see this. This is the
entirely produced by you.
Entirely produced by myself. This is my wife on the back with her beautiful self. And yeah, I'm in 26 stores across Texas. If you live in Dallas, Fort Worth, if you live in Houston, if you live in Austin, if you live in San Antonio, then you can pop into your local record store and it's there. And if you don't see it, just let them know, hey, I need that reconstruction of Pre, and they'll get on the horn with me and get that to you. So yeah, that's the move. I started to realize, like, let me take care of my fans that I have, not worry about the ones that I don't. Let me like do something that's like exclusive, where like, if you don't know, then you don't know. Like, let me do something to where it's not for everybody. The people that like exclusively stream as opposed to people that buy records, it's two completely different levels of like support. So if you're Beyonce, if you're Drake, if you're whoever, and you've got 15 different revenue streams for your music, then of course, why wouldn't you stream? Why wouldn't you make your shit available to everybody, right? You have a worldwide audience. But if you're like an indie artist out of Austin, out of Houston, out of whatever, and you're only like really working with your local like people on the ground, like real people that you interact with, then you might want to rethink, like, you see what I'm saying? Like how you go about delivering that music. It honestly, there's people out there that are like, yo, cash at me $20 and I'm a text you my new project. Like, there's really people out there doing that and like making millions of dollars and being super successful. And more important than the money, they found a bridge to their audience where it's just me and you.
Yeah.
There's very few middlemen. You know, you got Cash App in there making a little bread off of it. But other than that, you know, like, and nobody can tell you nothing. Like, can nobody tell you shit? Like, you do what you want to do. Like, you wake up when you want to wake up and you live your life how you want to live it after that. So
on this project, the new project, did you record it and mix it down and everything?
No. So David Lopez out of LA mixed it. It was mastered at Bernie Grundman Mastering in LA as well. And that's My Letter to Ice Cube was actually recorded by him. Well, no, that story was with him in LA, not Dallas.
Oh, okay.
So on the video.
Okay, so correction. Yeah, correction on that one. You were in LA in the studio.
I was in the studio, and so he's Ice Cube's engineer. So for years, I think for like 2 albums, I want to say, I just came out and hung out while he was recording the albums. So I was just got to be like a fly on the wall for a lot of his sessions, mainly the ones from Laugh Now, Cry Later, which was 2007, I think, 2006, 2007. And it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life because I'm sitting there smoking weed with Craig and I'm just like, I think I'm higher because I'm looking at this motherfucker and I'm like, I'm tripping. I'm smoking with Craig. Like, this is crazy. Like,
did he get a chance to hear the song? Do you, to your knowledge?
I don't know.
Did he ever
to be
hear
honest with you, I don't know because I don't have that kind of a relationship where I just call him up and be like, "What's up,
but
man?"
Your engineer though, I would have told the engineer,
But
like, "Yo, show Cube this shit, like, man." I would have told the engineer, "Show Cube this track, man." Play this for him. Like, not to sign me, but just
no,
just let him hear it, like,
I think, I think that was the case. I think so, but I think because I just made it because it had such an impact on me, and it was like I couldn't help but to write that song. You know, I wasn't doing it to like, oh, let me like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm pretty sure he did, but I never really
I could tell. When I listen to the song, it doesn't sound forced. It doesn't sound like you were trying to like come up with some shit. It sounded genuine. It sounded like you were just like,
and it really was. It was because again, like, you know,
it's a dope ass track. Everybody go check that shit out. I'm gonna put the link down below. Once again, I put them on the other ones too, just in case anybody stumbles across our video. They're like, "What is he listening to?"
Yeah, no, I appreciate
to the Letter to Ice Cube. It's a dope track, man. It's a dope.
I started writing songs when I was 10, and by the time I ran away when I was 13, I was like, I thought I was Puffy, like before there was a Puffy. Like I thought I was just.
I mean, you had the skill level, man, to fucking to talk that shit. So like that one song on my son likes that one song where you're like, bring my robe and my microphone. I know the song's called I Know. Bring my robe and my microphone. That's who was doing that? You and your friends and shit.
That was
doing
me.
The skit? That was you.
Me. I do.
That's what I figured, man. When I was listening
voices,
to it,
man. Yeah,
I was like, this is probably that. And then you did it perfect too, man. That fucking album's a classic, bro.
I mean, appreciate it.
It still is to this day, and I mean, shit. Hopefully, motherfuckers will catch up. I got it back then. When I listened to it, I knew it was special back then. It didn't take me 20 years to realize that shit.
I appreciate that
but
shit, man.
I realized what it was. And to this Mike Quinn guy and shit like that, like I just look at it like if they were fair and they were like really respecting of your art, they could have made way more money. You guys could have all made way more money. It's like their stupid little greed like fucked off a fucking beautiful opportunity. They already had their foot in. They got this young brown guy who could rap his motherfucking ass off.
Yeah.
You're marketable.
Man,
they could have marketed you. Like, what the fuck? See, that's what I was thinking.
Is Under the Sun was. It was the answer to what they were trying to have me do. And the thing was like they didn't want to pay producers. And so that was the number one thing. It was like, I got these guys that like make hits. Like these guys are dope. They're like, nah, we got a guy. And the reason why they were like, nah, we got a guy was because they got a guy that was working for free and didn't want any of his publishing or any of the rights to his music. He was willing to work for nothing and like just for the opportunity. Shit. And honestly, he was kind of trash. Like his beats weren't,
because the production on that 2 Days Under the Sun, man. I mean, fuck. Even the fucking the RGV song. I mean, that's like a West Coast feel good fucking. Roll your windows down type of track.
Shout out to Tika. Tika was Tika was a background singer for Brandy and I think Monica or some big R&B singers at the time.
She shot that shit, man.
Oh man, did she
write it? Did she write that or did you tell her what to
I
sing?
wrote that. I wrote that. Yeah. So we were in. I don't know if you remember. There was a hip hop reggae artist by the name of Mad Lion from New York. He was actually like a real good friend with Notorious Big, with Biggie. And he was in LA. He had a studio out there, this dope ass like studio downtown. And the engineer I was working with had to go over there and mix some records for him. And while we were there, is when I was like, man, like I should like call Tika and have her come over here and do this hook. Cause I was working on, that song at the time. Yeah. And we asked Mad Lion and he was like, man, go for it. Like, I don't care. Like, do your thing. And so we had Tika come over and I wrote that for her. And like, I'll never forget, like she knocked it out. Like that was like one take, literally like what you hear, that was like one take on the first time. Like I gave her the melody, I gave her the words and she still sings. She does a lot of stuff, like a lot of gospel stuff, but she's still out there. She's still doing her thing. She's incredible. She killed that record. I was like going along after 2 Days Under the Sun, after that whole situation, I did another project called Concrete Dreams. And Concrete Dreams is like 2 Days Under the Sun of the next decade. If 2 Days Under the Sun was from 2000 to 2010, and Concrete Dreams was from 2010 to 2020, because Concrete Dreams was a project that completely changed the trajectory of my life, right? So I spent like 3 years working on this project, because I was like, man, I got to make something undeniable again, like 2 Days Under the Sun, right? But it's got to be better than 2 Days Under the Sun. And so I spent this time making this project. I put it out, and I had, again, just me by myself, no manager, no publicist, no nothing. And all of a sudden, I started getting articles in the Houston Press, Houston Chronicle, and that turned into more press. And then I got press by Jeff Weiss in LA, who he used to write for the LA Times and like all these big, publications. And then that turned into like more articles and more articles and more articles. And I started getting all this press. And it changed things in Houston. And then Paul Wall and his manager Goo came into the picture, because I knew like a guy at the radio station, and these publicists heard about me and they wanted to sign me to their company, which then in turn I met Paul and Goo. And I started working closely with them. I started working with Paul in the studio, working with him on some of his projects. And then my son was born in 2012. And that was definitely like a moment where I really had to like stop and be like, okay, like I went through this with my daughter, right? Who right now is 25, believe it or not. But it's like she had to go through this with me at a young age, right? Seeing me like grinding and like hearing her dad's music and being like, yo, my dad's shit is jamming. Like, how come his shit isn't like big? How come my dad ain't like, whoop, 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 or whatever? And so I was like, do you really want to go through this with your son, right? Like, do you really want to like live this life and be having to leave him and like, do what you got to do out here? And so I started to kind of take a step back from music, but I can never like really take a step back from music. And so what ended up happening was I started a group, right? I started a group with this female singer / rapper from Houston by the name of Tom Perone. And she was super dope. And she was also starting to get press and get her name out in Houston. So I think really it was a way of me like saying like, I can still do music and still do my thing. And if I get somebody to do it with me, maybe it'll make it easier on me, right? Wrong. And so like, it ended up becoming this thing where I was writing all the songs. I was the one paying for all the studio time. It became like my project, and she was just kind of there, right? She was just performing, but she wasn't like putting in the work or the money to like really grow this thing. And so of course, we got a lot of press from it. We got like, some opportunities. I got 3 songs in a movie that ended up, going out and coming out in theaters. So a little bit of money started coming in. But then I got shot, right? And so when I got shot, everything changed. And that's when like I really like took a step back and decided like, you know what, I'm going to start making beats, because I've always wanted to like really just focus in on that. And I've always wanted to take time to just become like a super dope producer and beat maker and not have to go and find people to make beats for me, right? Because that's the thing. If you're a rapper, or if you're an MC, like if you don't have dope beats, then you on the internet like everybody else, like searching for shit, right? So yeah, I was like, nah, let me learn this shit, like, because I've been around it, all my life. So why not? Like I'm surrounded by dope ass producers. There's no reason why I shouldn't learn this shit. So that's what I did, man. From 2013, after I got shot, to 2019, like right before the pandemic, or right you know, like coming out of the pandemic, I put out very little music. I put out maybe 5 or 6 songs in 5 or 6 years. And all I did was just cook up every day, making beats every day, just making 4 or 5 beats a day, every single day, you know, doing promo gigs, doing whatever. You know, I work for marketing companies, like, cause I'm a hustler. I get out in the streets and I make shit happen. So they like, yo, we can use you. Come over here and help us launch this company. So I was able to like take my skills that I learned in the flea markets and get good ass, you know, marketing jobs, and help launch a tea company in Austin. I helped launch a phone company in Texas. I did like all this marketing stuff during that time as well. And I was really able, man, because here's the thing, bro, like, this is going back to what we talked about before, right? I've been doing this since I was 13 years old. I've performed in front of 70,000 people at the Las Vegas Summer Jam. I've won the freestyle battles on 97.9. I've been in the rooms with the big producers and the names and all this, right? Like the Ice Cubes and the whatevers, right? But you know, one thing that I've never been known as: a good father, a good husband, right? Like, it's like I've been the next up guy. I've been the top 10 to watch guys year after year after year. Like, that shit is cool, right? But like, when we pass, when we leave this earth, all we really are is what they say about us, right? So it's like, what are they gonna say about you? Is that all they're gonna say about you? And so I started realizing that, like, I that's cool and all, and that's cool. I appreciate the accolades, and I appreciate people looking out for my art and wanting to recognize it. But what about simple shit like that? Like, was he a good father? Was he there for his kids? What did he pour enough into his kids so that they could go out and do dope shit too? Like, you know, and so, you know, getting shot and almost dying was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it made me realize what's really important, you know? And so lo and behold, my wife one day wakes up and is like, you know what? I went to school for radio and TV, and I'm a matchmaker. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't want to do this shit anymore. I want to go be on fucking TV like I started off, like before I went to college. Because she was in theater and choir and all these things as a kid growing up. Like, that was her dream, right? To be on somebody's stage performing. And so she literally like manifested this whole life now. She's a working actress. She's like, does major commercials. Like, she's done an independent film. Like, she's just like doing all these big things. And now she opened the door for me and gave me an alley-oop. So now I've got a gig on Fear the Walking Dead. So
you're gonna be a zombie?
Nah, that's what I thought, right? I was like, oh shit, I can, you know what I mean? Like,
we need a rapping zombie.
I'm actually a stand-in, which is, I didn't even know what a stand-in did a couple months ago. And now I'm a full-time stand-in for a major television show. And so basically what a stand-in is like, we are the ones that work with the directors and the lighting people and the director of photography to figure out each one of the shots. So, and the biggest thing, honestly, talking all this shit, they like, well, what is he on? I'm vegan. I got shot in the guts, and come to realize, like, my intestines can't handle what I used to eat. It can't handle tacos and Mexican Cokes.
Tacos and Jarritos to drink.
Jarritos and all that. I mean, I'm still playing with my cigarette, my apple soda. I still, you know, I can still every now and then, you know, but like, I had to go vegan, first vegetarian and then vegan, because like, I almost sent myself back to the hospital just eating the normal shit that I would normally eat. But, you know, I had like 4 or 5 inches of my large intestine removed completely, right? I had like damage done to my small intestine and to my colon that took 10 surgeries like to repair. So, but the problem is when they did all that, nobody told me, hey, you should really like think about, you know, changing your diet to something easier, because, you know, you got brand new guts, basically. Like, we had to rebuild your your digestive system, basically. You know what I mean? Like a major part of it. Nobody told me nothing. I had to figure out the hard way. And again, man, it was like it was almost more painful than the bullet, like the gas or whatever, like the discomfort from just eating regular food.
Did anybody else get hit when you got shot?
Nah, it was just me by myself. They caught me walking down the street late at night.
So it was random, huh? They tried to rob you?
Yeah.
Did they try to rob you or what?
No, they robbed me. Yeah, they got me for my watch, my phone.
And then they shot you.
My backpack. Yeah, and I didn't, I'll take this shit out of, whatever. Like, I'm not about to fight shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't fight either.
I
take all my shit. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, take it, bro. Like, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna. Yeah.
So they shot you just to be stupid, just to be like, fuck you.
I guess, yeah. Either that or, again, that's what I needed to go through. Sometimes, this depends on how you look at it, right? One of my favorite movies is this old movie from the 90s called Jacob's Ladder. And in that movie, the guy says, depending on how you look at it, it could be demons tearing your life apart, or it could be angels helping you up. It just depends on how you look at it. And, like getting shot and going through that and dealing with the fact that, like, there's this dude that tried to kill me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he tried to take me from my son, from my, my wife, from my daughter, like, and so it was like, of course you're going to be angry and you're going to be upset and you're going to want to, like, retaliate and all of those things, right? But then it's like, the thing that did it for me was the court kept sending me all this, paperwork and information that I really wasn't trying to look at. And one random night I happened to glance at it, and the guy that shot me had my daughter's birthday, had the exact same birthday. And so in that moment, it made me realize that, yeah, this guy shot me. But you know what? At one time in his life, when he was a little bitty thing, like, somebody loved the fuck out of this kid the way I love my daughter, right? At one time, like, he was innocent. At one time, like, he was just a little kid. Now, something went wrong for him to be out in the street shooting people, right? For their watch and for their phones. But, like, he's still a human being, right? And, like, I was able to find peace in that. And the moment that happened for me, like, everything changed. Bro, it was rough, man. Like, it was a really, really, really life-changing experience, man. But again, it's not one that I regret, because I was able to extract the good out of it. And now, man, bro, my life is like, bro, I go to a TV set all day, and I'm surrounded by actors that I grew up watching, and I get to, like, crack jokes with them and shit. And then at the same time, I get a notification on my phone, and I'm selling vinyl on my website and t-shirts. Like, I'm good, man. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, man. It's like, no, I'm not nobody's star or nothing like that. But again, it's like, I get to have a life, bro, that 99.9% of people on this planet could only dream of. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, we not rich and we not, whatever, but it's like, every day we get to wake up and we get to play like we're still kids. And that's probably the realest shit that I've learned while being here on this earth is if you get to do that, if you get to wake up every day and play like we used to play when we was kids outside, and somebody gives you a check for that shit, bro, you rich as fuck. Like, that's wealth. Yeah. You're wealthy, my friend. Like, that's some wealthy shit, So
yeah, happiness is more important than a fucking plaque. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, so I mean, you said earlier, that you weren't always the best parent because you were gone trying to do shit, right? So Dominique, right? That's your daughter's name?
Yeah.
I got that from your song because I like that song. That's a dope ass track.
I appreciate it.
So how's your relationship with her? Are you guys cool?
We are.
Okay.
It's I'll put it to you like this. I can see how that whole situation, like, the divorce and, like, not being able to be there full time, like, I can see how it's had an impact on our relationship. But yeah, I would still say we have a good, strong relationship. Could it be better? Like, yeah. And, like, so those are, like, the things that at this stage in my life, I get to try and, I won't say make up, because there's no making up. You can't make up lost time, but I get to try and kind of like fill in those gaps that I wasn't able to do, right? Like after the divorce and going through everything that we went through to not be under the same roof. But she's an amazing, amazing photographer out of San Antonio. She goes by Domskiat. She's on Instagram. She's on social media. She is to photography what I am to music. If you jam my music and you say, yo, this motherfucker's got some shit, she is to photography what I am to music. So I'm super proud of her. I'm super geeked that she's like who she grew up to be and everything that she is. I'm just like, I'm the proudest dad, you know, imaginable. So
that's fucking dope, man. Cause I see, like, I listen to songs and I listen to music and I mean, I could tell it was genuine. I mean, you're talking about your daughter and you name her and you're telling the story and I just always wondered, like, you know, I've been wondering up until now. That's why I asked you. I just wondered, like, I wonder if she really fully understands what you were trying to do. And I wonder if she made peace with it.
Yeah.
If you guys
You
were
know
cool.
what?
And
You
that's
know
dope
what's so
that you guys are.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
She, not too long ago, about 4 or 5 months ago, she showed up with an original 2 Days Under the Sun CD with the original cover, which don't exist anymore. Now I don't have any, like, you know what I mean? Like literally all I have, because when I got robbed, there was a drive in that backpack and they never recovered that backpack. So I literally lost like 10, 15, 20 years worth of music, files, all kinds of shit was gone forever, right? Yeah. And so she showed up with a original CD, original pressing. So I have one that I've tucked away in a safe place. And it was crazy because she was like, I was cleaning out my closet and I think it like fell behind something and it's been back there all these years. She was like, I found it. She's like, I put it in my car in the CD player. She was like, I haven't even played a CD in like, since I bought this car, right? Yeah. She said, it sounds incredible.
Yes,
she was like, this shit knocks. She was like, this shit sounds like,
yes, it does.
Like, you know, it's like, it's all come full circle because this project that I did way back then is like just now, like people are starting to like, you're one of a couple of people who are like literally seemingly coming out of nowhere. Like, hey, remember 2 Days Under the Sun? Like, yeah, that shit was really dope. And it's like, oh, wow. Like y'all going way, way back. You guys are like going to the beginning, like to where it started. So there's no better, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's what we make it for. Like, that's why we made it. You know, like, that's why I make music, man. I don't make music for the world. I make music for like a handful of people that like come from where we come from.
Before I forget to ask you, so was there a song, and I might be wrong, but was there a song where you're talking about, like, are there any songs that are on the first one that aren't on the second one? Like, did you take a song or two off?
Yeah, I did.
Maybe like some personal shit or something. Like,
yeah, I sure did.
One of them was really deep, and I was trying to remember. I was like, I don't know if it was me or so there was another song that you took off, right?
So there was a song called
it was like a personal song. You were talking about something, and I can't remember, bro. It's killing.
So
what was it?
It was a death in my family. There was my niece as a 6 weeks old. My niece drowned in her milk from a babysitter, right, who was watching or not watching her. And you know, it was like, of course, you know, it was a traumatic experience. And I made this song about my sister and how she was able to go through that situation and still like be sane, right? And still how she was able to cope and manage and go through that. And we got the guy from Next. I don't know if you remember, it was an R&B group called Next.
Yeah.
It was really popular back then. We got him to sing the hook. And it's weird because when I went back and listened to it years later, maybe a couple, 4 or 5 years later, I didn't like, and that happens with me sometimes. Like sometimes after I give myself enough time away from a song, I'll come back to it and I'll be like, the execution wasn't right. Like the idea was good, the beat was good, the hook was cool, but like I didn't execute it properly. Like I could have written it better. You know what I mean? Like the story could have flowed better, whatever. And whenever that happens, I'll like yank a song. Like I'm like the original like Kanye West when it comes to like never being finished with shit. Like
that was one of my favorite songs on the CD.
You know,
no, it was. That was one of my
other
favorite
thing.
songs. I was like, that song's.
So anytime I've ever done that, anytime I've ever pulled the song either at the last minute before I put out a record or afterwards, like in between a reissue, I've always regretted it because I've always run into someone who told me, man, that was my favorite fucking song. Why did you do that? And so like, I've always like in retrospect regretted, like I should just be done with shit and just leave it alone because somebody's gonna like it. Like apparently like somebody will really appreciate that shit.
Yeah.
Again, like it sounds crazy, but I've never operated thinking like that people really care that much. Like I've never operated thinking that like there's actually people out there that actually really fuck with my music, even though like I do my best to like I forget about that shit sometimes. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, like people really like that shit. Like they like, I had somebody once tell me like, because I had like taken down a song from MySpace back in the MySpace days. I got like this message and they were like, I played that song every morning while getting ready for school.
And you took it away from me.
And now it's gone. Like, what are you doing, bro?
Like, that's fucked up. That's how the fucked up. How you gonna do me like that?
And so like I was like, dog, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't mean to fuck your day up, bro. Like I'm just trying to get my shit together. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to like put my best foot forward with my songs. And they're like, bro, fuck that. No, and that's the reconstruction of Pre is just that. Like I rebuilt myself like with the help of my wife and my kids, like mentally, physically, spiritually, like all the way around. So that's what this project really represented, was the amount of time that I was gone. It was this time of reconstruction. And so, you know, that's kind of the story of the album. And just the vibe, I think, of like the records is just kind of this like, it's a very positive album. I feel like, you know, there's a lot of like uplifting things on the album to like help get people through. That's the other thing too, is like I made it during the pandemic, you know? And so it was like, I felt the need to like, kind of to try and help lift people up, you know what I mean? Because I knew people were like really, really going through it, you know? So, but I'm proud of it. It's self-produced. I did all the music on it myself. And the new project that's coming out is called Rockets Over Brownsville. Produced
nice.
Hired by this young cat named Javoti, who is a monster musician.
Nice.
He's in Atlanta right now working with all kinds of like major label people. He's got major label placements that are coming out. Like he's only 24. He's gonna be like, everybody's gonna know this kid over the next like 5 or 6 years, because he's just incredibly talented. He's just comes from a really good background, got a really good head on his shoulders. And we helped him he wanted to get into acting and get an agent. and like get into that world. And my wife was able to like get him plugged in with all the right people. He's already doing auditions himself now. But he came and produced a whole project for me. It's 9 songs. It's called Rockets Over Brownsville. It's super dope. It's really dope. I'm really proud of it. So
when's that going to be coming?
Hopefully before Christmas.
Okay.
Before Christmas, hopefully. The
Nice.
website is manuelbeltranmusic.com. The Instagram is Mr. Manuel Beltran. The same, like really Instagram is my main social media outlet. I have Twitter as well. Every now and then I go on Twitter and see what's going on, but it's really, if you search Manuel Beltran, you can find me on pretty much, on everything. So there's also too, man, there's a SoundCloud page with all of the music after 2 Days Under the Sun. So there's like 3 albums on there, or 3 or 4 projects on there, 2 or 3 of which you've probably never heard. So it's
Nice.
soundcloud.com/Mr. Manuel Beltran is the SoundCloud page. So between that and what's already on the YouTube page, that's pretty much most of my music that I've put out since that time.
That's dope, man. That's dope. You got a dope catalog. Like I said, 2 Days Under the Sun is the first one that I checked out, and I've checked out your other projects as well. At least the ones on that YouTube channel. But yeah, I'll check out your SoundCloud. And shit, man, I think that's good for the interview. Man, I appreciate you for fucking doing this.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you for having me, man.
Yeah, and like I said, man, thank you, man. Thank you for the music that you've made.
Man.
Thank you for the music that you continue to make. And thank you for telling the story here on Run That Media. And,
yeah, man, anytime.
Yeah, well, shit, man, you have a good one. And shit, I'll talk to you again soon, man. Keep in touch.
You too, man. You have a great afternoon, bro.
All right, bro. Peace out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, everybody's always asking me where I'm from, right? Man, where you from, man? Yo, I'm coming out of Dallas, but I'm from the RGV. You know what I'm saying? South Texas. Feel me? All the way down by Mexico. Y'all got to look on the map. Check it out. Home for me ain't LA or the D. Further down south, it's the RGV. Might miss it on the map cause it's hardly seen. Might have heard it in my raps cause it's part of me. Tip of Texas, come off the loop in San Antonio to the 77 exit. And when you hit Corpus Christi, you halfway there. And the minute that you get there, you're gonna wanna stay there. South Padre Island, just wanna lay there. Spark a little hay there, spend the whole day there. McAllen to Brownsville, they say my name there. I sit back and notice how much has changed there. And how much stayed the same. Still eating good off the Lone Star card and Shorty's name. Still in the hood, hustling for street fame. And Gonzo's 4 a.m. when the beats bang.
Been on so long, but every time that I return, it's all up and it's because this is my home. Yeah, I'm here to be seen, and every other spot in between. No matter where y'all see me, RGB, my H.O.M.E.
With Big Tim, DJ Mike, Joe Heavyweight. No matter where I go, I'm still a G-Spot affiliate. Matter of fact, they the first ones hearing it. Shouts out to Posse, cause you a true lyricist. Y'all, meet me in Harlingen at the mall. I'm just waiting for this chick from Rio Hondo to call. Said she went to Pace back in the day and remembered my face and heard I was in town for 7 days. Yo, the vibes got me open. Slow the pace down like life down here is in slow motion. Brownsville, International, Boulevard, coasting, bumping my old shit, smoking.